Fox 40 News at 6 starts now.
Hazmat emergency happening right now in the Bay Area. Crews remain on scene this evening in Crockett as the fire burning at a petroleum storage facility continues to burn. That fire burning just south of the Carquinez Bridge, and it is, as you can imagine, causing a traffic nightmare on I-80. All right, so this is a new piece of video for us as well, just in the newsroom a couple of minutes ago, showing the moments that one of those tanks exploded during a fire at that facility. Right now, as I mentioned, I-80 remains closed in that area, including the Carquinez Bridge, and that means I-80 in both directions at rush hour, so you can imagine what that's like. Thanks for joining us. For Fox 40 News at 6, I'm Eric Harriman.
And I'm Nikki Lorenzo. Good news at this hour, though. The brush fire burning near that facility, we have learned it is now out, but crews are still battling the fire inside that facility. 2 storage tanks are currently on fire. So again, want to let you know that fire is burning just south of the Carquinez Bridge in Crockett. That is just south of Vallejo. So if you're planning to head to the Bay Area, you should avoid that bridge altogether.
And those storage tanks that you just watched exploding, at least one of them have been burning at that facility for more than 4 hours. The fire is sending thick plumes of black smoke up into the air. The smoke, they say, can be seen for miles. Fox 40's Dennis Shanahan live for us tonight right near that facility in Contra Costa County with the latest on those burning fires. Hi, Dennis.
Yeah, Eric, we could see that plume from Vacaville as we were driving down on Interstate 80. What we're seeing right now appears to be somewhat of an improvement. Smoke a bit light rising from this NuStar Energy facility, but looks are deceiving because we've seen several flare-ups after it looked as though the fire was almost out. We can take you to some more video of when this was just absolutely dramatic, a thick black plume of smoke rising from this facility. This all started with an explosion just before 2 o'clock, according to firefighters. Fire eventually engulfing 2 storage tanks. Now, initial reports of a 3rd tank on fire have been corrected. Firefighters now saying that a 3rd tank has been scorched and threatened. But what's primarily burning is ethanol in 2 tanks, one of those tanks containing 167,000 gallons of ethanol, according to Contra Costa County Fire. No injuries have been reported, but shelter-in-place orders are still in effect for Crockett because of the air quality, and air quality monitors are in the area, and they say in some places it is downright unhealthy. Here's more about the closure of Interstate 80 from one of the firefighters in charge out here.
The interstate highway right to my front remains closed, and there's been no determination as to when that might be opened at this point. A number of concerns about that. One is safety from these tanks that are burning behind us. Another is air quality. So Interstate 80 in both directions remains closed for the time being. As soon as we're aware of when we can get that, when California Highway Patrol can get that open, we'll share that as well.
So no estimated time of reopening, and that closure is in both directions near the Carquinez Bridge. 200 firefighters and support personnel are out here. They're using water and foam. They're also trying to keep the nearby tanks cool, in addition to putting out the tanks that are on fire. Those tanks contain ethanol and jet fuel, we're told, the ones that are threatened. 15 acres of grass burned. Now that fire has been put out. The grass fire was put out by CAL FIRE and surrounding agencies. Hazardous levels of particulate matter, that is the concern in the air right now. The cause of the initial explosion that started all of this just before 2 o'clock, still under investigation, but the good news, no injuries reported from any of the personnel working at this NuStar facility in Crockett, and no injuries to any of the firefighters as well. The big concern just being the air. Live in Crockett, Dennis Shanahan, Fox 40 News.
Dennis, thank you. And more live pictures here. That smoke could be seen dozens of miles north in Solano County. This is a look from our camera overlooking Lake Curry. That's just outside of Vacaville. In the distance, you can see that black smoke rising again. I-80 just south of Vallejo, Carquinez Bridge. Avoid that area completely. It doesn't look like I-80 is going to open anytime soon. And for the latest information, including a new map showing you exactly where all of these road closures are happening outside of I-80, because there are more, you can head to our website, fox40.com. This map is also available on the Fox 40 News mobile app as well.
Tonight, we are learning more about the man accused of killing 4 people. 3 of those victims were found in a Roseville apartment. Shagar Hangoon is accused of killing 4 relatives, 2 adults and 2 children. The 53-year-old now faces 4 counts of murder, and right now it is still not clear what motivated these murders. And we have team coverage for you tonight on the murders and the investigation as well. Fox 40's Rowena Shaddix has more on the impact these deaths are having on the Roseville community. But first, we're going to start with Jessica Mensch, joining us now live in Roseville with the latest on that investigation. Jessica.
That's right, Nikki. Investigators tell us 3 of the 4 bodies were found in this very apartment complex. But what's really disturbing about all of this is that they are not sure how long those bodies were actually left inside of the apartment. They're wondering whether it was just a couple of days or maybe even a week. Tonight, though, as investigators work to narrow down that timeline, neighbors here are all wondering, why would someone do this?
I'm still mind blown. I don't know what happened. I don't know what's going on.
Heartbreak and shock in a quiet gated community.
I feel sad.
Tang Nguyen lives 2 doors down from the Roseville apartment, turned crime scene Monday.
They live too quiet. They don't talk too much, nobody,
Police believe Shane Carr Haingood killed his 4 relatives, 2 adults and 2 juveniles, leaving 3 of the bodies at Carmel at Wood Creek West in Roseville, before driving 4 hours away to Mount Shasta, where he turned himself in on Monday with another body in the car.
We really can't provide that timeline. We're estimating that this could go as far back as a week, but it very well could be just several days ago. And that's one of the challenges that we're facing, is trying to identify the start of this timeline from when the suspect left his residence in Roseville and then traveled through Northern California to end up in Mount Shasta.
Now asking anyone who saw the suspect within the last week to call police. They believe he was traveling with an adult male victim of East Indian descent.
At this time, we are not releasing a motive for these crimes, as this remains an active investigation.
The suspect's now in Placer County Jail, facing 4 counts of murder. Neighbors are just grateful he's out of their community.
But it still shatters you inside, leaves you feeling a sense of vulnerability.
And neighbors tell us that they are, of course, very shaken up in all of this. The Sacramento County Coroner's Office is working to identify those victims. As soon as they have that, they will release their identities. Now, the suspect is expected here in Roseville in court tomorrow, and we'll be sure to keep you updated on what exactly happens in court. Reporting live from Roseville tonight, I'm Jessica Mensch, Fox 40 News.
And Jessica, we'll stick with this story for a quick minute here. The Dry Creek School District in Roseville says that one of those kids killed was likely a student at Silverado Middle School, although that has not been confirmed independently by us. The district is now offering counseling to students and staff. Fox 40's Rowena Shaddix live at that school with how parents are reacting to all of this. Ro.
Well, Eric, many parents found out about this news at dismissal time, very worried about their own children and how they would react to the news.
I don't think any child should be a victim. It's horrible.
It's heartbreaking.
Family members of Silverado Middle School students in Roseville were reeling after learning that one of the victims killed may very likely be a student from there. Dry Creek School Superintendent Brad Tucker said in part in a prepared statement to parents, "It is with a heavy heart I inform you, pending notification from authorities, we believe one of the victims in the Carmel at Wood Creek West apartment complex homicide may have been one of our treasured Silverado Middle School students."
Everybody should be very supportive, and that's just a big tragedy that should never happen to anybody or any child should experience.
As parents and family members lined up to pick up their student at dismissal time, many were concerned about how their loved one would process such traumatic news.
I'm more concerned about, does she know the person or anybody, any of the victims?
Right.
How is she feeling?
She's talking about her boyfriend's daughter who she was picking up. This dad was picking up his daughter and hadn't had a chance to talk with her yet.
Horrible things happen in the world, and it's just, you always hear about it happening other places, so it's very odd for it to be happening here.
Parents are just very anxious to find out the ID of this student. Live here in Roseville tonight, Rowena Shaddix, Fox 40 News.
Ro, thank you. Lodi police are trying to identify 2 persons of interest from last month's arson at Zupo Field. The fire destroyed the grandstands at the popular baseball field. Police say the 2 individuals in the video were seen in the area of Zupo Field at the time of the arson. Anyone who can identify them is asked to call police. 2 men will spend the rest of their lives in prison in connection with a 2016 murder outside of a Sacramento nightclub. Police say 3 years ago, Julian Garcia and Herman Zamora Canada got into a fight with several people outside of the La Nueva Tropicana on Arden Way and opened fire. Gunfire hit 3 people involved in the fight, as well as Cesar Almena Luna, who was working at a taco truck nearby. Almena Luna was shot 5 times and died. Garcia was convicted of first-degree murder and was sentenced to 149 years to life in prison. Zamora Canada was convicted of second-degree murder and was sentenced to 99 years to life.
About 10 kids were taken to the hospital today after falling off a swing while they were on a field trip in Lathrop. Officials say that the kids were standing on the swing at Del Oso Farms, causing the bench portion of that swing to tip over. The kids fell off. They were taken to the hospital, but just as a precaution, since obviously their parents were not there. It was a school field trip. The children in this picture were not the ones that were hurt on that swing.
A Turlock man is stabbed multiple times by an intruder. Police say his 1-year-old child was actually in the bed next to him when this happened. 31-year-old Alvino Alanis was arrested this morning shortly after the stabbing. Turlock police say Alanis forced his way into a home on Millhouse Street, kicked down a bedroom door, and then began stabbing the 34-year-old victim. The victim was able to get away and went to a neighbor's house that was nearby for help. He was taken to the hospital in critical condition. The child's mother was also in the bed at the time of the attack. She was not hurt. Police say the suspect is her ex. He's now facing attempted murder charges. Right now, Sacramento police are investigating a shooting in downtown Sacramento. We know it happened this afternoon in the area of 13th and J Streets. Police say a victim was found with multiple gunshot wounds, but is expected to survive. They were taken to a nearby hospital. No suspect information is available at this hour.
A new lawsuit is making some pretty serious allegations against the Catholic Diocese of Sacramento. Juan Ricardo Torres of Butte County claims that the diocese allowed his alleged abuser to continue working as a priest in Mexico just months after he reported that that priest had abused him. The priest in question here is Jose Antonio Pinal, who was preaching under the Diocese of Sacramento at a church in Gridley. Torres was a 15-year-old altar boy at the time the alleged abuse happened.
They promised him that Pinal would no longer have access to children.
These are individuals that are supposed to be, the closest thing to Jesus Christ or God, and they're not.
The lawsuit stemming from the signing of AB 218, which allows victims of childhood sexual abuse more time to file a civil lawsuit. And Bishop Jaime Soto out of the Diocese of Sacramento says that he is ashamed of this transfer of Pinal, adding, quote, "This was a grave failure of judgment and a betrayal of trust. The safety of our children is our highest priority. In 1989, those in leadership failed to do so. I must own and atone for this," end quote.
I know she's gonna take care of me. I know I'm not gonna have a big sister again, but I know she's in a better place now.
A Turlock teen is remembered just days after her tragic death. How family and friends are honoring that teen's life.
Also, some new video tonight at 6 o'clock shows the moments the ground started shaking in the Bay Area. This was yesterday, but the shaking continued today here in Northern California. We'll talk about all those earthquakes coming up.
And coming up later at 6:30, the California Republican Party licking its wounds after the 2018 midterms. But they say they have a new plan for 2020. We're going to talk to the woman in charge of the party about her plans to compete with Democrats in 2020.